Okay. Hey, welcome to Yo-Yo Talk. It's again Thursday night, and I'm glad to see there's some folks out there still interested in talking about yo-yos. Normally, I tape a little bit in the beginning, but tonight it's going to be all live. I'll put some B-roll shots in over me talking, but we need to get the conversations going. I really like having people make comments. That's why we're doing this all live. So if you're sitting there watching and you're a wallflower, please get out on that dance floor and make some comments. So I'm going to start off tonight by actually doing a little unboxing. I rightfully or wrongfully entered a talent contest for the American Society of Dermatologic Surgery's national meeting. It's a short video, and no, I'm not going to show it to you. So I decided to do a little bit of yo-yoing, and so I'm kind of counting on the contest having only one submission. But so it had been a long time since I had been throwing any yo-yos. So I decided to do that little mini performance, and all my yo-yos were, the good ones were like 10 or 15 years old because I haven't really been throwing the last few years. And so I got one out and I was kind of fiddling around with it. I said, man, these are a lot better than I remember back in the day. I was using a Flying Camel. And I thought that was about as good as it could possibly get. And then, of course, came the Silver Bullet 2. Then after that, I wasn't throwing as much. So, you know, I'd still put on little mini performances when people come by and look at the collection or TV or whatever. And I was just using like the Doc Lucky Yo-Yo Jam or something like that. Nice yo-yos, but not really good competition models. So I was really surprised when I was picking up these yo-yos how much better they were. So I decided to go on and get one of these Gentry Stein Shutter yo-yos. You know, it's one of those mid-level bi-metal yo-yos. And I got it, and just so you know, I didn't get this, they didn't give it to me, I'm not promoting it. I just got it out and go, wow, this is really incredible when I threw it the first time. And so I decided to do a couple of Eli hops. I'm usually good for about 3 to 5, and then I usually screw up. And then I popped out 10 in a row, and I'm going, whoa! So this was a lot of fun. So I you know, got the yo-yo here, and so probably start throwing a little bit just for recreation. And I just didn't realize how smooth some of these newer models really were. So when you start out learning yo-yos on a fixed axle, it changes things when you've got a really great throw. So, but anyway, what I want to do is get everybody out there to right now jump in, and I'm looking at the comments. I want you to put in what your current favorite throw is right now, and we're not going to judge you, and no trash tech on this, folks. I just want to see what people are actually throwing that are watching the show. So this is your chance, if you've never commented before on the show, to get out there. All you have to do is put the name of the yo-yo. You don't have to justify it or anything like that. And there could be a multitude of reasons why you like it. It may be just a historic yo-yo that you want to throw, but go on and put that down. So everybody chime in, please. And while we're waiting for these comments to come in, I'll be watching them. Let's take a look at our grand prize package for the winner of the pop quiz tonight, later near the end of the show.
Grand prize package, which probably already belongs to the Nickinator. We just don't realize it yet. Here's a little quick scan over the whole amount of collectible items that we've got up for grabs here near the end of this show. Up here at the top, we have a Lucky's Collector's Guide to 20th Century Yo-Yos, signed. Going to be worth a lot of money in about 100 years if you keep it in mint condition. There's a Doc Lucky's Yo-Yo. We also have the Immune, which with a Immune Yo-Yo. Don't find those at Kmart anymore. And here is a plastic Sir Duncan spin top. Notice the price tag of 79 cents. Hard to get a top for that these days. And actually, if you want this top, I've been checking the prices. It stays pretty consistent, about $15. So if you can score one of those on the card for less, you're doing a pretty good job. And here is a World Wrestling Federation Undertaker yo-yo. This was, I don't know, maybe 20 years old, maybe a little less. I thought these were not worth the postage type yo-yos, but it turns out I checked the prices on these, and these hold pretty consistent at about 12 bucks each when they're on the card like this. So there are folks out there that collect these. Now, off to the right there is a Earth Zone yo-yo. This is a Spectra Star. This was in their very first series that they released of yo-yos. It is a sculpted yo-yo of the globe, and this was actually so popular that somebody did a knockoff of this. If you can believe that, there's actually a Spectra Star knockoff. And the way you tell them apart, and you only heard it here first, was that on the Spectra Star, it does show Hawaii, and the knockoff does not. Also, the Spectra Star, inside the string gap on the rim there, it will say Spectra Star too. So I know everybody's leaving the show right now to go check their collection and see if they have the original or the knockoff. And speaking of knockoffs, this is actually not a knockoff. It is a reproduction yo-yo of the Duncan Super Tournament. And this is confusing to new collectors because a lot of times when these are sold loose, and I've seen this happen many a time, these will go off sometimes for as much as $50 because people think they're getting a mint condition Duncan Super that's about 60 years old. And actually they're getting this remake, which was done in 1996. It's actually pretty easy to tell these apart. And I never see these go for much more than 25 bucks when they're actually in the package, because then people realize it is the reproduction. But the way you tell it apart is there's a little registration mark behind the word Duncan, and there is no registration mark with the word yo-yo. So easy to tell apart. Over here to the left, we've got a Spider-Man Spectra Star yo-yo. That's a sculpted yo-yo, and I've checked. I can't find any of these for sale on eBay recently, so I think it's actually pretty rare. So I would expect it would go off in the $15 to $20 price range, maybe a little bit more. Got some tin yo-yos there that are OTC and also not worth the postage. There's a nice 50s Alox flying disc. Couple of yo-yo blanks from Duncan. Those are ready to be carved, folks. And there's some Playmax Pro Yos and a nondescript wood top. So that is our prize package for this week. Let's check out the value right now. Wow, $205. And it's all yours. You just have to beat the Nickinator.
All right, well, I see we've got a lot of good answers in there on favorite throws coming in. I noticed, well, I think my favorite one actually was the Festival Screamer. I wasn't expecting that one to pop up, so Judith wrote that one in there. But Slim Dunk, there were some other ones in there. 720 as the best looper. You guys can look at the comments, but please.
Hey Lucky, thanks for the yo-yos. The box just came. Thought I'd do a quick little unboxing here. Glow in the dark yo-yo. The hummingbird on the card, that's really cool. Oh. Here's that Pez one you were telling me about. What am I supposed to do here? Rub it?
In Zimbabwe currency. And speaking of $100 trillion in currency, if you happen to own a hard copy of Lucky's Collector's Guide to 20th Century Yo-Yos, there were only 200 copies made, and they were all signed and numbered, and you couldn't buy them. You had to either win them as a national or world championship or be given one because you were worthy and you know who you are. So 10-15 years ago, sell for about $150. But as you just saw there on that post, they're asking $310 for that book. So hang on to your copy because the value is just keep going up. What's that? You got a problem with sound, Sean? Okay, Sean is having a little bit of a problem with the sound, but he's trying to work it out right now. Do I need to go to the other microphone? Can I go to the other microphone?
Yeah, it's already on.
Okay. So anyway, that's the update on that. And speaking of worthy people, I guess I should comment that we have a Facebook yo-yo page up, the National Yo-Yoing Hall of Fame. I've got all the inductees now listed on the page. And we are working on this, getting the National Yo-Yo Hall of Fame up and going again because it's been way too long since we've had any inductees. I think it was 2008 since the last time we had anybody come in. And so what we're going to do is take nominations, and then we're going to have, this will be later in the year, have a committee cull those nominations down to probably about 10 worthy individuals. And then the Academy will vote on who will be initiated in as an inductee. So how do you get into the Academy? Well, you kind of have to be selected much like the Academy of Film Arts, which is a little bit. So I want to say, so how do you get in? Well, somebody's got to be worthy of voting. And many of you watching the show, quite frankly, are definitely worthy of being a voting Academy member. And I think you know who you are. So please go to the National Yo-Yoing Hall of Fame group page. Now, it's still kind of plain. We don't have any header on there or anything like that. But just ask for admission and put in a word or two why you should be a voting member. And so just to give you some examples that make a person worthy to be in our Academy that will vote for who gets in the Hall of Fame, anybody that's been a professional performer, a sponsored player, a demonstrator, authors or books or articles on the yo-yo, designers, manufacturers, judges, attendees at multiple nationals or world championships, contest promoters, collectors that have contributed something to the movement other than just having a drawer full of yo-yos. And I think you get the idea there. In other words, if you have not personally made a contribution to the yo-yoing community, then you really aren't worthy as a voter. Just enjoying playing the yo-yo or posting a couple of TikTok videos out there of your latest learned skill doesn't count. Entering a couple of local yo-yo contests and earning a patch, still not worthy yet. But I think most of you know that have been out there around and a while who needs to be in that group. So spread the word to the people that need to be in that voting group. We want to get them in. The reason we need them in the group is so we can contact you guys when it comes time to do the voting. So one last thing I want to mention before we get into the lightning round. There is a yo-yo book about to be published. I believe it's like September 24th. I may be a day or two off on that. It's titled The People of YoYo, and it's by Mr. Yo-Yo Thrower. I think a lot of you guys know who that is. I got an advanced reader copy about a day or two ago, and I've read about 2/3 of the book of it so far. So for myself as a yo-yo historian, it's a fun, great read. Several of the people that have already appeared on the show have been highlighted in the book, and it's a great read for finding out kind of what's been going on in the yo-yo world the last 15 or 20 years, and it's a kind of about revolving around the people that are involved in the movement. I haven't finished the old book yet. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more about some of the earlier demonstrators, but I'm not done yet. And again, it's more about the recent stuff going on. But it did put a lot of people on my bucket list to get on the show. So I think everybody's going to enjoy this read. And Mr. Yo-Yoer himself, Yo-Yo Thrower himself, is going to be on the show on October 1st. And he's going to talk about his book. So something to look forward to. Okay, let's take a look at what we have in our lightning round tonight. I had a substitute pack. I wasn't sure, but Jon Gates, who's we're going to bring on right now, he is handmade. You're going to get a autographed, handmade Jon Gates yo-yo. John, can we bring John on there, Sean? Right before, yeah, we went him on right now. Okay. Yeah, he's going to show us what we're playing for in the lightning round. Not the alternative prize package, but this one, because this one's better. There's John. Check that out. Can you tell us a little bit about that yo-yo, John?
Yeah, this one right here is one of my earlier models. I've started reproducing them because of demand. It's hollowed out on the inside, so it has a nice weight rim. It's about right about 50 grams.
Is that the
it'll
Hubbard?
have this one. I'm not gonna. It's an unnamed yo-yo right now.
Okay.
Only because I named this yo-yo and sold it for about a year, and then a whole nother company came up and started using this same yo-yo name.
Oh.
So I'm actually right now. It's about to be renamed.
Okay. But this yo-yo is going to not only be renamed, but it is going to be autographed by John. And the winner of this contest is going to take that yo-yo out of John's hands. So now I want to remind everybody.
And I also have second place.
What's that?
I also have a second place yo-yo because I hate only having one prize. So I'll send out a second one.
Oh, cool.
It's got a picture of me on it.
All right, cool.
So I've got second place and first place.
Okay, so we got a 2 yo-yo prize here. So now I just want to remind everybody that whoever answers this question first is the tentative winner. He's not or she is not the actual winner. We have to wait until we get the time code at the end of the show before we can give an official yay. So we will stop when we see a correct answer coming through, because then we know we have a winner. But you're going to have to wait and check the comment section at the end of the show to see if you actually won. So let's get right on to the lightning round. And Sean, let's throw up that lightning round. Here it is. When Jon Gates set his world record for shoot the moon with this yo-yo that is right there in the background, how many feet to the closest half foot was it? All right, we are waiting for our answers to come in. So it could be like 43.5 feet, or it could be 42 feet. Could be 41.5 feet. You just have to tell us how many feet that string length was for the shoot the moon. Now, I don't think that's the current world record anymore, but I was there when John set that. It was quite impressive. So I think we're getting some answers coming in. I don't see any yet. We got a lot of people giving shout outs to John, but what we need is an answer so you can take home that great prize. We're getting no sound comments on here. Is that true, Sean? Huh? Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'm looking at
that issue is fixed, I think.
Okay. All right. Are we? I'm apparently seeing really old comments here. Wait a minute. Okay. Okay. I'm seeing. Oh, okay. Yeah, we're seeing some come through. I'm going to kind of count on Sean here to look at this for the correct answer. Okay. People are giving even numbers. The hint here is to the nearest half foot. That should give you an idea that it may not be like 33, it may be 33 and a half. But that's not the answer. We are still waiting for that answer to come in. And with Facebook, who knows, maybe it already has and we haven't seen it yet, but we're still waiting for that to come through. Okay, I'm going to give you a little hint. It's under 20 feet, guys. It's under 20 feet. I think just by random chance, one of you guys would have hit this number. Okay, we got it. We got a correct answer now. So who is our tentative winner there, Sean? Okay, who's our tentative winner? The Nickinator? You got to be kidding me. Come on, guys, this is a random thing. How is the Nickinator winning this again? All right, well, the Nickinator right now is the tentative winner of the 2 Jon Gates yo-yos. A great prize for the Nickinator if he indeed is the winner. And we will find out at the end of the show. But let us go right into our guest tonight, who you've already seen. He is the father of off-string play. He's an amazing innovator and one of the most skilled individuals in throwing the top probably in the world. John, thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So anyway, I want to just jump right in. Did we have any questions yet for John, Sean? John's checking for the questions there. I have a question to start out. Okay, you are the almost undisputed father of off-string play. Take us back, and I love you. Start with that yo-yo you just showed me earlier, how it all got started, and tell us a little bit about how that off-string came to be.
Well, I have this yo-yo right here. It's a pro spin.
Wait, I'm going to stop you right there. The answer was 12 and a half feet. Sorry, I never give the correct answer. 12 and a half feet is the correct answer for the lightning round. Go ahead, John. Show us that yo-yo there.
That's okay. Yeah, this is the one of the very first off-string yo-yos here. It's made by a company, Pro Spin, out of Mexico. I picked that up so I wouldn't trash out another yo-yo trying to learn how to play. And while I was developing just the throw and the catch, I accidentally stumbled across the bind. So really, the Pro Spin was the very first off-string yo-yo that I played with.
How about that?
So that was kind of where it all started, was with that very yo-yo. Of course, we've got the very popular Hyper Viper here when we toured Japan teaching off-string yo-yo with Team Hyper Viper. But,
so really, when you go back and you look at the history of the yo-yo and off-string play, the real critical thing is people were kind of experimenting around with, and it's kind of like the Diablo, you can throw it on the screen, but nobody had a way to really bring it back, and which was key to the development of every trick that came after that. So that's, and I believe there's a little story with you and Dale Oliver, and Dale was showed you initially, and then you went back and tell us that story.
Oh yeah. So that was in 1990. It would have, I was a budding yo-yo professional, really into it. At that point, of course, we weren't sharing tricks online because there was no communication that way. So the Yo-Yo Times newsletter would come out, and that's how we would kind of learn tricks. But
Sure.
learning yo-yo tricks from text was always very difficult. So that meant that I was always approaching the style of play a little bit different. Like I never quite worked it out the way the words meant. So when I came to meet Dale Oliver at Playmax with the big yo-yo thing, they were starting the campaign of yo-yoing. He taught me all kinds of tricks, but I already knew most of what he showed me. And he was kind of getting fed up with me because, I'd always be like, well, show me something more advanced. And he was kind of already at the limit of where he was. So he was like, okay, I've got something for you. So he pulled out a Pro-Yo, took it off the string, started to wind it up. I go, oh, yeah, I know this trick. It's the runaway dog. Great gag, but not very tricky. He said, no, you're a young punk. Check this out. And he threw it kind of like a pushing motion, the way we do with spin tops, where you pushed it straight down. Then he flung it up and caught it on the string, did one somersault with it, and then caught the yo-yo. And looked at me, and I'm like, okay, that's cool. Now show me that again. And he couldn't do it a second time. So he was like, well, you'll just have to work on it on your own. Because he probably hadn't done that very maneuver in probably 30 years at that point. So, me being a little bit obsessive, I went back to the room where we were staying and I tried over and over. And I started to develop the kind of throwing down more like the power throw style move, where I would intersect the string with my other hand, and I could get it to actually, which is pretty similar to the modern throw now. And I could get it, and I could get it to flip. And at that point, I was also kind of learning the Diablo.
Okay.
And one of my favorite tricks was where you wrap the string around the axle and it'll climb up the string. So I was attempting to do the elevator trick, the Diablo elevator trick. And sure enough, when I wrapped that string around, it snapped right back to my hand and I caught it. And I was kind of like not sure what happened. I'm like, well, that was unexpected. It's wound
kind
up
of like
into my
discovering
hand.
penicillin.
Exactly. So then I'm like, okay, well, that's cool. But if I can do it a second time, I think I'm onto something. So I threw it a second time. It came off the string. I did the little trapeze flip deal and wound it back the second time. And I mean, I'm sure my neighbors in the hotel were probably pretty upset because I was screaming and jumping up and down. So the very next day, we go back to our little meeting room, and Dale Oliver was there, Bob Maloney was there, and Dennis McBride. The three of them were all kind of standing in this little hallway there. And I'm like, okay, Dale, you know that off string thing you were telling me about, which it wasn't called off string. In fact, at that point, it never really had a name. Its original name, by the way, is Stringless Yoyo.
Stringless.
I didn't call it off string. I called it Stringless Yoyo.
Yeah, did you see that? Just digressing a little bit, there was a guy, I can't remember his name, that like went before Congress and was testifying about the stringless yo-yo. Have you ever seen that story?
No.
It's really weird. Yeah, it was the string. It was like in the 50s or something. I'll have to talk about that in the future episode.
Yeah.
It made the national news and everything. But he had, quote, invented a stringless yo-yo. And somehow I got in front of Congress. It was all just a hoax. But anyway, so.
Well, I was actually doing the stringless yo-yo at that point. So I asked Dale, okay, so that trick you showed me, how do you get the yo-yo back to your hand afterwards? And both Dale, well, all three of them kind of looked at me like a little bit like, what is this kid talking about? And Dale like put his hand on my shoulder and was very concerned. He's like, John, it's not connected to the string, so it's not coming back. It's like a spin top. And I said, let me show you a neat trick I figured out. And I did the one little throw and the flip, and then I wound it back and I caught it, and I look at them. All three of them were a little bit slack-jawed, like, what are we looking at? Like they look like they just saw a ghost or an alien.
That was the eureka moment.
And I shared it with
there.
them. And seeing, I mean, you know, Dale's eyes were bugging out, slack-jawed. It was quite a moment. In fact, if you do have a chance to watch the little introduction from the 92 World Contest, Dale references me and that moment in the creativity that I have in the yo-yo world. So
that's a very cool story, and
story.
Everybody has heard it here first. That is really the start of Offstring, and then think about the amazing stuff that has developed from that moment. Now, Judith Schultz wants to know what your first yo-yo was, and I think I had an opportunity just a few minutes ago to actually see it. Can you show us that yo-yo again there, John?
This right here is the very first yo-yo that I've ever played. This belonged to my father. He got it in the military.
And just for the non-yo-yo collectors out there, that is a Duncan marbleized Chevron Imperial, and that is a very highly collectible yo-yo just in of itself. So yes, please continue with your story.
So that's my first real yo-yo that I had to play with. That was, I started in 1976 with this one. I was 5 years old, and I kind of learned to play that. Now, I just played around. I could do a few little tricks, never really got into it, threw it in my toy box. But in high school, I started to get back into yo-yo, and this is my real first yo-yo.
Nice,
and that's the Tom Kuhn No Jive. I know we can't see it in the camera here, but one side is actually bigger than the other. It looks totally mismatched. It's smooth as silk, just like it says on the side where it says smooth. So that was the one that really lit the spark for me. And my very first throw on this yo-yo, I wrecked it right into the pavement. And that's the mark right there that actually made me go, okay, there's the resistance. Now let's work at getting better.
Yeah,
and
I think
whole year after I picked this one up was I just yo-yoed obsessively in school for my senior year in high school, got in the yearbook playing this yo-yo. I also met my wife on the day I bought this yo-yo, and I saw my very first punk rock show, Fugazi. It was their first tour. So, 89 was a pretty big year for me. And this right here was the catalyst for all of it.
Well, I think Tom Kuhn started many of us kind of back into the yo-yo without a doubt. Hey, Dano was wanting to know do you know what the current record is? I don't remember it off the top of my head for Shoot the Moon. You don't happen to know what that is, do you, John? What broke your record? John's record was 12 feet 6 inches. That was the answer to the question.
Yeah.
Okay. So now one thing about John is not only is he great at yo-yos, but he's an amazing top player too. Tell us about your involvement with the tops.
Well, one of my biggest heroes in the yo-yo world. In fact, I think the show right now is saying that it's still a Bob Rule show. On the internet. I think I'm mislabeled as Bob Rule, but Bob Rule taught me how to spin a top about probably 4 months before that off-string thing. So I got my first spin top from him. I still have that one, still throw it around a little bit. Lovely little spin top, but I learned to wind and throw it there and actually got, I could do a handful of tricks, before I ever met anybody else besides him that could spin a
Bob
top.
certainly influenced a lot of people in the yo-yo world. There's no question about that. Now, you make your own yo-yos, and the interesting thing is, you were telling me, not only do you make your own yo-yos, but you make your own dowels for the axles. Tell me about that.
Indeed. So I early on when I started making yo-yos, I kind of took a little bit of a cue from the engineer from Yo-Yo Jam, Dale.
Dale Bell.
Dale Bell. He mentioned when he started building yo-yos, he never looked at another design. He just visualized what he wanted to have happen, and then he would make it. And afterwards, then he would compare what other people were doing. So I kind of took a clue from that. But when I started seeing all the different yo-yo makers out there making yo-yos, the axle almost felt like an afterthought. They would be like, okay, now go get a dowel from the store, and we chop it down and we press it together. Well, which works okay. But for me,
let me just mention,
I'm
since
getting
we've got
where
this
they're
video going in the
super round and
background, this
smooth.
is you at the 2017 champion, and you're playing with a fixed axle yo-yo there, and you're
That's
making
right.
fixed axle yo-yos, which not very many people do anymore. It's a subcategory, I guess, of play. The old school guys like that fixed axle. So.
Indeed. And the thing is about the fixed axle yo-yos that I make, like here you're seeing me do the whole boingy boingy with a loop dismount there. I believe a yo-yo should actually spin at the end of the string. In 1998 and prior, all of our yo-yos that we would play with, they were all fixed axle, but we wanted them to play like ball bearing yo-yos. So that's sort of the sweet spot, what I call the pre-98 yo-yoing, is the sweet spot for yo-yos. I've got a couple of my dowels here. This is one that I made here. But the funny thing about this is when I put this in my lathe, it'll run really buttery smooth at 3,000 RPM. So if it's not able to run at 3,000 RPM and be dead smooth to the touch, I don't feel like it's right. So I make sure that these yo-yos, even though I'm using old technology, I'm doing it with the idea of if you want to hit a spirit bomb or, any of the, more modern tricks, they should be able to be done on fixed axle yo-yos too.
Now,
So that's sort of my
yo-yo
big
you said was
focus.
called the Gibby, is that right?
Yep, the Gibby, that one is really, this one right here, this Gibby,
Okay.
this is an actual, I don't know if you can actually hear it, but it's hollow. This thing is actually hollowed out like I do these yo-yos, but then I put another layer over the top with my logo on the top. So it's almost like a hollow body Gibson guitar, but it's in yo-yo form. So I've kind of hit the point where I said to myself when I was doing this, what if what everybody else was doing is fine, but what would I really want? And I kind of really meditated on that. And I'm like, I want it to be like a violin or a musical instrument.
You usually make only
that's
about
what I'm
50
going
to
for.
75 of these when you do a run, right?
Yep. Yeah. Well, I usually stop after about 50 yo-yos. I usually keep my runs to about 7 to 10 pieces. And then once I hit about 50 of them, I come up with a new design and start working on that. So right now I've got about 7 different designs that I kind of work from. I've got my Delrin line that I call a Hubbard. The ones that I'm sending out today, right now, this one's called the Ohm, because I don't have a name for it yet. So OM. I've got what I call the SE, which is a modified butterfly, very similar to the Gator Jam here.
Yeah.
So I've got something kind of like this. That's called the SE.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. With all those different yo-yos, 2 last questions. Number 1, what's your favorite throw? And number 2, what's your favorite collectible yo-yo?
All right.
Favorite throw first.
I'm going to start with 2.
Okay, start with the favorite collectible.
My favorite collectible yo-yo that I have would have to be this little two-tone job
Sweet.
right here. This is a light-up yo-yo from 1952. It's got the Duncan embossed there. When I showed this one to Donald Duncan Jr., he told me he wasn't sure that Duncan even made one, and I showed it to him. So, and this, if it's a reproduction, whoever made the logo really did a good job with this.
Yeah, no,
But,
it is.
yeah,
That
this
is the
a very
original
rare
deal.
one.
I have a box of those. It is definitely a Duncan, and it comes with all the Duncan stuff. So I think that probably Don Jr. just didn't remember it.
Right. Now, my favorite yo-yo is the exact same answer I've been giving for over 20 years. My favorite yo-yo is the one that I have in my pocket.
Oh, okay.
Right now, it's this one right here. I've started to kind of go almost retro into making yo-yos that are designed to loop. So that's the new wave that I'm actually working on right now. I actually have a handful of these I'm in the process of making. And I'm only selling these as pairs.
Now, how do people get those
one
yo-yos?
of them. You can contact me if you email me through my website, gatesyoyo.com. Even though the pictures aren't up yet, I'm the kind of guy who likes to make them or sell them as fast as I make them.
Right.
So a lot of the times I've got yo-yos available. You just have to ask. Kind of like going into a little indie restaurant, like, hey, what's good today?
Okay.
And they'll make you the most amazing food, and they've never made it to the menu. So right now what's on the menu and what's coming is these slimline loopers. You can only get them as a pair, not to have a commercial here, but they are only $50 a pair for these yo-yos.
And we want to promote that too. Anybody that comes on the show, I hope you sell out, and the demand is great. Hey John, thanks so much for coming on the show. That was awesome. I know we could probably talk for hours. Well, I know we could because we've talked for hours before. So, but hopefully we can get you back on the show for a little more chat time at some other point. But I think everybody is gnawing at the bit because it is time for the pop quiz. And so somebody put a muzzle on the Nickinator as we're about ready for the questions. Just a reminder, it ends when we see a correct answer in the comment section, and you must answer both questions correctly in the same comment for it to work. That makes you the tentative winner, not the actual winner. We will check the time code after the show's over for the true winners, but the contest will end once we know we have at least one correct answer. So, I don't know if these are going to hold up. But we will let you know after the show. So let's go right into our pop quiz, Sean.
Doc Lucky's pop quiz. One shot, one champion. First to answer both questions in the Facebook comments wins. Get ready.
This is the world's largest yo-yo. Rounded to the nearest foot is how many feet in diameter? And the second part is this former world's largest yo-yo is how many feet in diameter? Two questions about sizes of big yo-yos. This should be easy, hopefully easier than figuring out how many feet that shoot the moon. What? We've already got a correct answer coming in. What do we got there, Sean? Chuck Short right now is the tentative winner. Chuck Short. Wow. But that could change, folks. That could change. We will have to wait until the end of the show. And the answers were 12 feet. And the second answer was 6 feet, which if you are watching very closely, it is written on the face of the yo-yo. So that was a real easy one to get. All you had to know is the largest yo-yo was 12 feet. And that's a pretty freaking big yo-yo. And I don't know if you guys know any of the history about that particular yo-yo. The first time she set that off, they had just used a regular rope, and I think it was about a 3-inch rope, and it immediately burned through that rope like nothing, because I don't know, it gets up to like 40,000 degrees when, you know, a big 12-foot yo-yo starts spinning on the end of that rope. So it broke the yo-yo. She had to rebuild the whole dang thing. I think it took her another almost year to rebuild it, and then they got smart and put a different type of cable finish on it so it wouldn't light up like that. So anyway, thanks again to Jon Gates, the father of Offstring, for coming into the show. Don't forget to check out the National Yo-Yoing Hall of Fame group page. And please, if you are worthy, ask to join the group so you can become a voting member of our academy. And also, don't forget to get your Celebrity Yo-Yo Contest entry in. You only have 1 week left. And next week, we are going to have a Doc Lucky Ask Me Anything episode. And we are opening up for all questions. It can be yo-yos, zombies, whatever you want. So we won't have a guest next week, but we will be reviewing how we're going to do the Celebrity Yo-Yoer contest. And I think I may get around to opening that $250 mystery box that I bought off of eBay that supposedly has some yo-yos in it that nobody won in that contest. So we'll see what's inside of that. So, guys and gals, remember, you can never have too many yo-yos. I'll see you all next week. Same yo-yo time, same yo-yo channel.